Well. I promised myself that I would never do a virtual podcast episode, but there's a lot of interesting people out there that I want to talk to, and I can't really travel all over the world right now to go meet these people in, locations and stuff. So I said, you know what? Screw it. We're going to go digital for a few episodes here just because I want to get to talk to more of these people because there's a lot of perspectives out there. Welcome to the Miss Retrospective. I am your host, Kirby Carreon, and my guest here today is the one and only Carmen Michael, who is another broadcaster, actually, who our interactions began with the Tom Hannafin seminar that happened. And that's where we met because that's where we connected. And then I see you always hustling on social media, always posting where you're going to be at, how long you travel for, everywhere you go. And I will say, as one of my friends in broadcasting, Walker Stewart, that's what he did. And that's what he ended up, getting found in New Japan and everything. I admire the hustle, especially for someone that like my brain is like WWE coded. Like that's where I want to end up at. And I was like, I'm going to stick to reality of wrestling because I know that's like a quality place. And it's hard for me to leave the nest only because I was like, this is the quality. Like this is what I want. So
Oh, I understand that.
yeah, I very much love your hustle, dude. I really, really do. So for those people that may not know who you are, what you're about, what your past with professional wrestling is, why don't you let the people know a little bit about yourself? That way they know your background and where you're from.
So, as far as background, I come from a world where I was touring, fronting a rock band. I was singing, playing guitar, traveling around. We opened up for bands like Saving Abel. I had a lot of fun doing that. Unfortunately, not a lot of money involved in when it comes to being an independent band. So I decided to go the route of more production. So I was running audio. I was setting up for bands. I've done stagehand work for everyone from Slipknot to the Rolling Stones to Kenny Chesney to Young Jeezy. Like it's covered a wide array. Insane Clown Posse. Um, so I was doing that, and for years, my friend Brandon Williams, who also used to play in a band locally, you may know him as the locksmith Brandon Williams. He's wrestled for New South, GCW, Retinal Wrestling. For years, he's like, "Hey man, we got to get you in the business. We got to get you in the business." And I'm just like, my schedule is busy. I don't know, man. I don't know. And then inevitably, I started going to a promotion in Canton, Georgia called Southern Honor Wrestling. At the time, it was run by a core three people of Gary Lamb, Sunny Days, and Nathan Mowry, who I still talk to Nathan all the time. He's a great dude, but I went just to support Nathan. Honestly, like it was their first show. I went and I just fell in love with it. The the production, everything involved. And I told him, I said, hey, if you ever need any help with production, I'd love to help out. Well, fast forward however many months, they promote the show SHW 1000. They're trying to get 1,000 people in the building. They didn't promote anything other than, hey, Cody Rhodes is going to be here. So, I'm kind of smartened up. So I put pieces together. I was like, because I'd worked with Jericho's band. I'd done work with Fozzy for music videos. I'd done stagehand work with him. I kind of gathered, wait, Jericho's going to be here. And then I was like, well, the first AEW show's coming up. I bet Kenny's here too. Suspicions were correct. But anyway, there was a moment during the show. I'm in the crowd and the projectors mess up and they start displaying the computer monitor rather than a second display screen. Thankfully, no one was paying attention other than me, apparently. Because if you looked at the screen, you could see all the videos in order. And if anyone's paying attention too long, you can see like Chris Jericho Tron. So I run over there and I'm like, turn this off, do this, do this. And they kind of look at me and Gary's like, listen to him. He knows what he's talking about. So I ended up getting that together and then just like, hey, happy to help. A month later, I get a call as I'm driving to the show. They're like, hey, can you come in and I said, do you know how to run lights? I said, no, I'm an audio guy, but I'll learn. So that's my foot in the door with wrestling. It wasn't until the next year that everything else sort of fell into place. It was a lot of right place, right time. Started ring announcing at New South Pro Wrestling. I was doing that mainly just for the pre-shows and then filling in whenever our ring announcer couldn't be there. And then an opening came up at commentary. And then it just So, and I was scared to death to do commentary. I don't know how your first time was. They were like, "You got this. You know all the trainees." It was a battle royal where most of the actually all of the participants were trainees for the New South Academy. They're like, "You go to training. You know these people. Just call the match. You've watched wrestling." And I was scared to death, and I loved it. I was scared, but we went out there, and I had a great time. My partner, John Mosley, at the time, had a great time. He went and talked to Dump Sanders and Brandon Williams at New South and said, "Hey, I think this is our guy." So they took a huge chance on me. Shout out to Mose for that. Um, and then it became more of a passion to the point where I left my full-time job going on 3 years now, and I've been all in on wrestling. I obviously still have to have some side gigs here and there to bring in income, but traveled the country, worked in 18 states now, everything from GCW, OVW, CZW, New South, Action, even a Global Force Wrestling show, which was not ever on my bingo card, but it happened, and I'm very fortunate. I've met a lot of great people along the way. I've learned a lot of great advice. You mentioned Tom Hannafin. That seminar really opened my eyes to a lot of things, and I've been fortunate enough to work local crew with TNA a few times since then, and every time Tom's pulling me to the side and he's like, "Hey man, just any updates? How's your career going? Did you use this trick I gave you?" And like, man, it's you would think with the talent pool so small that it is, especially in broadcasting, that it'd be a lot more cutthroat. But what I see just about everywhere is everyone uplifts each other. They cheer for each other. I remember you mentioned Walker Stewart. I remember him reaching out to me years ago when he was trying to like get his foot on the path, and he was asking me for advice saying, "Oh, hey, can I come into New South?" And then, you know, now all this time later, he's out there killing it for New Japan, like putting out insane numbers. Uh, Shout out to Walker Stewart, by the way. I love your 3 a.m. Japan calls, wandering around the park.
Yeah, no,
He'll call me.
Walker's a great guy.
He'll call me up. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm leaving a show." He's like, "Oh, I'm just walking around Japan. It's like 3 a.m." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, that I met him randomly when he just messaged me on, I want to say, Facebook. He got a hold of me and I was like, "Oh yeah, no, sure, whatever." And he just was another broadcaster, and I always love talking to broadcasters because, again, like you said, the talent pool is so small. And that there's a lot of people that are doing what we do, but it's something that I learned through my own journey in wrestling. We all have different goals. Like, not everybody wants to end up in WWE. Now there's AEW, there's New Japan, there's a lot of different places that you can end up at. So that's what I've started to kind of like ask people, like, where do you want to end up at? Because then that changes my advice that I give to people that I like pass down and everything. Because in WWE, you have to tell the story every single time. My favorite thing to share is that if you see an Ushigoroshi, are you going to call it an Ushigoroshi or are you going to call it a knee to the back of the head? Because that's two very different things. And that.
I have this conversation with my roommate all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My roommate, Rob Weathers, I've worked with him on commentary for, I would, at least 15 promotions, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
But he's very much the New Japan style. He tells the story, and he takes you on a journey, and like, sometimes that journey takes 2 minutes, but
Yeah.
he's gonna give you every detail. He's gonna call all the move names, and like me, I've picked up a lot of things from everywhere that I've been, and like, I'm sure you're the same way. Like, when you're doing your tape study, you're hearing, like, say you're hearing the preparation from a guy like Mike Tenay, but then you're hearing the excitement from someone like JR, and you're taking this and this and you're plugging it all together. So like for me, I'm definitely, it depends on the situation. I'd say 9 times out of 10, I'm definitely leaning more towards that Michael Cole, like talking about the impact of the maneuver and talking about how this affects the match rather than calling every single move.
Yeah. And the story, that's where everything's at. I mean, Michael Cole's my GOAT. A lot of people
Dude,
are like,
he
but
is.
what about JR? I was like, I didn't grow up with JR. So like I got the tail end of it.
It's two different things. If you are wanting just the passion and like the raw energy and you want to believe in everything you're seeing, it's 100% JR.
Mm-hmm.
But in the time that we're in now, where there's a lot of ad reads and there's a lot of traffic and there's a lot of, hey, right after this we got this, but up first let's toss it to the back to Kathy Kelly. Like, when there's all that traffic, I don't think there's anybody better than Michael Cole.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So good. So good.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. I knew that you had history with music as well, but I didn't know it went that deep either. So, it's always funny like listening to people how they got their start in wrestling because it comes from everywhere. I've seen people get into wrestling from Total Divas, and a lot of, people are like, that's kind of silly. It's like, but they got in. And ultimately that's what matters, like the getting more people to watch wrestling. Like my wife, she doesn't like professional wrestling, but I'm trying to get her to like it. And little by little, we're getting there. But it's been a 2-year journey now.
So on your first point, the music and wrestling and how they're intertwined, like literally, I'm not sure if you can see this tattoo here, but that's why I got this. It's my two lives intertwining, the two different microphones, like
Love it.
Two different aspects of life. But then you mentioned getting people into wrestling, and this is something that I feel like everyone you ask, they're going to have a different answer. If you could show someone one match, what would it be? And it's always like, oh, well, Sting and Flair had their 45-minute time limit draw classic, or Okada Omega and their trilogy of matches and how awesome that was. I have never got anybody into wrestling that wasn't a wrestling fan by showing them a pure wrestling match.
Mm-hmm.
What I do, this is going to sound ridiculous. I open the door and show them like, hey, we're in on it. So I show them something like The Final Deletion or WLC, because everyone goes in the same. Everyone goes into it with the same thing. They've got these preconceived notions of what wrestling is, and a lot of people, unfortunately, I hate that they do it, but they just lump all wrestling fans in like, oh, well, they're stupid. They don't know this is fake. It's like, well, take a look at some of this. We're all in on the fun. We're all having a great time. That's broken down like so many barriers, like with old roommates, old friends who have come over. They've watched it and they're like, okay, I get it now. Like, I wouldn't mind watching more of this. And then next thing I know, they're coming to my Royal Rumble watch party. Like,
hell yeah. She does like the Royal Rumble. We've watched the last 3 now together, and we're looking forward to this one. So I'm really excited for her to keep watching more. Just again, because I did show her WLC, and she's like, that was ridiculous, but it was fun. And then I showed her the Sami Zayn Johnny Knoxville WrestleMania match because I know that a lot of people really like that one. Yes. And the funny thing is, she found that very hokey and she didn't like it. And I was like, okay, interesting. So I actually use her perspective as a teaching tool, because what we teach over at Reality of Wrestling is that you got to make the casual fan want to stop on TV and watch you for whatever reason. Like, how are you drawing in the casual fan? The hardcore fan, they're going to watch regardless, and they're going to have their opinions and stuff. But the casual viewer doesn't know what's going on. What are you going to do to make them stop flipping the channels and focus on you? So with her, I'm like, okay, let me show you this and tell me what you think. And then she gives me her thoughts, and I was like, okay, what didn't work about this? What did work? And it just completely changed my game, because now she's my measuring stick for who I want to make stop the channel on YouTube or something. It's like, hey, what's this Reality of Wrestling thing? And then they hear me. It's like, okay, this guy really knows what he's talking about. Now I'm invested in this story. So, her perspective has been tremendous. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to have her on the podcast again here soon, because the last episode we did was Psycho, because I also do movies on this podcast. But now I'm going to bring her on for my side of the podcast. And I'm going to show her Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 21. Ooh. And then I'm going to show her Bayley and Sasha from TakeOver Brooklyn. So that's a little bit of a spoiler for everybody listening out there. That's planned. And I'm going to get her like thoughts on it and just be like, what worked for you here? And we're just going to record it, see what happens. So I'm excited to see it.
If you decide to ever mix the two, you can always do Ready to Rumble. So
funny enough, this is going to be a hot take. I'm not a fan of that movie. I tried. I really did try, because it just didn't hit for me.
It falls into that it is so bad it's good category for me. Like, I love everything about it. Crown him. Like, oh, dude.
Yeah,
so
I think I just need to be more into WCW culture, because that was also an era that I missed. Which, speaking of which, that's the match we're gonna watch. I like the fact that I'm glad that I'm being exposed to more WCW, because this is like the third WCW match I'm doing for the podcast so far, and I've got like two more lined up. So I'm just like, dude, like WCW at its core was, you could see why it was competing with WWE at the time, and all the documentaries I've seen are obviously written by the winners. So it's very, WWE coded, and just, it's their side of the story without really telling the whole thing and whatnot. So hearing people's perspectives from that were actual fans at the time has just been phenomenal. So I guess my first question would be, I should say the match we're going to talk about is Sting and Diamond Dallas Page for the WCW Championship on Nitro in 1999. So this was already when WCW was winding down, and they were about to be bought in probably like 1 year, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
It's,
And mhm.
it's roughly 2 years.
Okay, and then the
It was definitely
NWO
on the
was still going.
downtrend.
NWO was still going, but it was already like kind of ran its course and everything. So what specifically drew you to this match that you're like, this is the one?
So for me, because you had told me, hey, I'm not quite familiar enough with Sting, and I know you're a big Sting
Yeah.
fan. What can we watch? And my mind immediately went to like all of the classics back from the Surfer Sting era.
Mhm.
His matches against Big Van Vader and Cactus Jack and Ric Flair and Rick Rude. Like, that's where my mind immediately went to, because that's what got me into wrestling. Like, I've told this story every podcast I've been on, but literally, like, my grandma said the only thing that would get me to stop like running around or being fussy as a baby was like when Sting was on TV, my focus just went to Sting. Something about the colors, the blonde flat top, the just the beating of the chest, everything, like my attention just went to Sting. So he's always been my favorite. And that's where my mind went to originally, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, I grew up, and as I'm growing up, like Sting's character sort of went along with like where I was in life. Like I was a very shy kid, and this was a point where Sting had the all white face paint. He wasn't talking. He was hiding up in the rafters. He was like waiting for his moment. And I really resonated with that. And so when you brought this up, my mind went to a bunch of different places, and what I settled on, I was like, I don't want to do something that everyone talks about. I want to do like a nice hidden gem. So that's why I chose this. This is from a period where DDP was wrestling as a heel in WCW. This is coming off of, I believe it was Spring Stampede, the Fatal 4-Way match, where he had won the title. And man, I'm so glad I chose this. I almost chose it blind, because I just remembered, I'm like, Sting wore like white boots, and that was random. Like, he never wore white boots. I'm like,
Mhm.
let's do that one. And then as I'm watching it, man, I hate being the person who's like, it used to be different. Wrestling used to be different. But my God, dude, that crowd was into it.
Mhm. The
Insane, man.
the funny thing that you talk about it being different, that's the thing that I'm noticing a lot. And I like to start saying it's evolved, because it sounds negative whenever I say that it's overproduced. But at a certain time, or a certain feeling, again, talking to my wife, I feel like that's the case, because I showed her wrestling in general from what we have now. And she's like, I can kind of tell when it's not going to be a pinfall. Like, why do they even try for pinfalls if that's not going to be the one? I was like, well, they're expending energy, and I have to explain everything to her from the ground up and everything. And she's like, yeah, but it just doesn't make sense. It's hokey. And I was like, okay. And that's when I started really rethinking about the current product. And my first episode for the podcast, I actually watched the 1997 Eddie Guerrero Rey Mysterio match, and that was my
Oh my
first time I ever watched it. And I was like, "Holy crap!" Yeah, I know. I said that. I was like, "Oh hell yeah!" And I saw that match, and I was like, "Dude, holy shit! Like, what? What? That was amazing!" And my wife actually sat down with me after 2 minutes. She's like, "This is wrestling," and I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "This is amazing," and I was like, okay, what's different? And I started breaking it down, and I started looking at other matches that I had scheduled at the beginning and everything. And I started realizing that the art just feels different now. Not that it's bad, but if you go back and watch old matches, I can very, very clearly see the difference from the older people, the older generations. They're like, kids now don't work. And I was like, I get it now. I see what they mean. And it's just because the wrestling has evolved now. So now when I'm watching these older matches, I'm like, I'm going to see some work. And I can clearly see that I'm going to see some work. So that's why I'm really excited to rewatch Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels when I get around to that with my wife, because I know that that's going to be like the tail end of the like full on workers era, where it's like, just tell us the finish, we'll go figure everything else out there.
Well, I think this match that we're covering today, DDP versus Sting, is perfect because I don't want to say it's the opposite of Eddie versus Ray. Like, it's still a similar time period, but you have to think, like, you watch this match where, and not going to get too far into it, but the crowd is reacting to everything. They're not having to, go out there and do crazy things and put their bodies on the line. Like, there's a couple spots where it gets a little dicey, but like, for the most part, a very straightforward, basic match. The crowd is eating out of the palm of their hands. Meanwhile, on the other side, you see Eddie and Ray, like guys who are on the undercard who are hungry and they're working their way up. They just want to get noticed. And Ray, my God, what an innovator. He really changed the game. I think a lot of what we see today is because people grew up watching Rey Mysterio and they're seeing him do a springboard, no look Hurricane Rana and like doing all these crazy things. Like, it's definitely interesting because you're seeing glimpses of what we see now with the Eddie and Ray match. Meanwhile, Sting and DDP, it's very old school, but I mean, you can't deny the reaction.
Yeah, and the talking about reactions, I'm skipping a little bit to the end here for the matchup, but I found it amazing that like 3 minutes before the finish, all Sting did was this to get the crowd to come back in, and they just fucking went crazy. They went so high up, and I was like, all you did was just raise your hand and say, come on, like that was it. And
mind you, this isn't a wrestling city. This isn't a Chicago or a New
yeah,
York City or a St. Louis or Atlanta. Like, it's not a quote wrestling city. This is Fargo, North Dakota.
yeah,
And they pack this place out. Like, they're like, I'm not sure if it was a sellout, but if it wasn't, it was damn near close. There were thousands and thousands of people just packed in there, and they were losing their mind the entire time.
and that I think that just speaks for the character as a whole for Sting as well, to be that over, especially being the foil to the entire NWO, because he's like one of the few people that like never ever turned into the NWO and everything. At least from what I know, I could be wrong. I've only seen documentaries.
It gets a little murky. He joins the Wolf Pack, which I think was a bad idea, but they split off. It's so weird. And don't get me started on the WrestleMania match. Sting's one and only WrestleMania match. You're telling me his mortal enemies came to the save? No. No, sir.
It was for the moment. It's fine. It should have been Undertaker, but whatever.
I was so happy watching the match. I'm like, dude, I can't believe I'm watching Sting in WWE right now. I can't believe I'm watching Sting at WrestleMania. And then DX comes out, and then NWO comes out, and I'm literally like, what is this?
My nostalgia is ruined.
and the people that I'm watching with don't watch wrestling, so they don't understand. They're like, what? Like, they're saving their friend. I'm like, no, they're not friends.
That's hilarious.
Those are his mortal enemies.
So to start the match, I expected for Sting to come out with the robe, the long robe that he wears, and the baseball bat.
Yeah.
So there you go, trench coat, and then the bat. Was that a thing that hadn't happened yet, or was that still kind of like building up, or was this just not a thing that he did for this specific match?
So the Crow character itself had its own evolution, because I mentioned for a long time he was, he's up in the rafters. He had on the trench coat, the bat. He would have, at one point, he had a vulture on his arm. They're both looking down. Like, there was the dark, brooding Crow character, and that all stemmed from when the NWO was like really at their forefront, really at their peak. They brought in a fake Sting. So this fake Sting was going in and attacking all the fan favorites. So then all of Sting's friends, guys like Lex Luger, his best friend, is suspicious of him. They're like, man, like, I know that was you. And Sting is like growing more and more hurt as he pleads his case, like, hey, that wasn't me. I know it looks like me, but it's not me. So eventually, he reaches its breaking point. He proves his point. He comes out. He just destroys everyone in the ring with the bat. He's got the long, shaggy brown hair, but he's still got the colorful paint. And then he comes out on Nitro and he says, "From here on out, consider me a free agent. The only thing that's certain for Sting is nothing's for sure." Drops the mic. You don't see him for a while. And then when you do see him, he's up by himself, completely changed. The white and black. He's just ominous. He's looking on. No one knows what's going on. So it's very mysterious. But fast forward, he finally defeats the NWO Starrcade, which we can say a lot about that. Defeats Hollywood Hogan, wins the title. And I think that's really the point where you start to see the old Sting start to shine back through. Long story short, they stripped the title off of him, saying, hey, there was some shenanigans, blah, 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 blah. And then Sting talks. He hasn't talked for 18 months or whatever it was. And he tells J.J. Dillon to shove it. So then, like, the more it goes on, we're starting to see his personality start to shine back through a little bit. And he's starting to talk, and he's starting to, show glimpses of the old Surfer Sting, even with the new aesthetics. So I really think I'm trying to think of a way I want to word it, but I think 99 was a nice little blend, like an amalgamation of all the previous versions of Sting.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm trying to think of the timeline because not talking for 18 months and still getting that crazy over, that's insanity. Like that.
You would
That's
have
crazy.
crowds chanting. You would have crowds chanting for Sting when the NWO was running wild. You would have 12 members of the NWO in the ring. They're laying boots to say Harlem Heat, and then the crowd's chanting for Sting. We see you up in the rafters. Do something. Do something. Do something. And then finally, the moment hits. He rappels down from the ceiling. He's got a bat. He just lays all of them out, and then walks away without saying a word. So he's doing the right thing, but you don't really know what his intentions are until later on. And man, I've went back and watched a lot of that, and it is incredible. Just one, how loud the crowds were, but the fact that they were able to do so much storytelling with such little dialogue.
Yeah, then especially when you think about the product as a whole for wrestling, the dialogue is important because that's how you get your emotions across. That's how you talk about what you're about, and just to do it mute is kind of crazy.
It's obviously a different time. Could you imagine today trying to do a 1.5 year long storyline between two people where one of them isn't talking, and they're not wrestling every week, and they're not destroying each other's vehicles or costing each other matches or like that? I don't think it could be done today.
Yeah, no, it absolutely couldn't. And I think the person that got closest to that maybe was Wendy Chu on Evolve, because I mean I love Evolve. I think it's a great show, and it's starting to really come into its own now that it's got a little bit of legs beneath it. But even then, she did it for maybe 6, 7, 8 months, and now she's talking again. So it's yeah, no, 1.5 years. That's insanity. And again, to get as over as you did, I think it also speaks to the fact that the NWO was just a great foil to that one character. It's one versus the world, basically.
I was not expecting the Evolve reference, but shout out
Dog.
Jackson Drake.
Yeah,
shout out Sean Legacy.
all the ID
Love
kids.
you guys.
All the ID kids. Dude, I literally watch Raw, SmackDown, Evolve, and basically all the shows while I work out. So cardio on wrestling days, I'm just gonna put on Raw. I'm just gonna put on SmackDown, whatever came out that day or the day before. That's how I catch up. And when I don't have that, I got Brooklyn Nine-Nine that I'm currently catching up on. So I'm that's kind of just what I use my time with and whatnot. But so Sting mute for 18 months, able to still be that foil. And this is, again, towards the end of that whatnot. And the funny thing about watching this match is that I didn't even think about this until it actually started happening. I've heard that DDP is a tremendous baby face. So it's oh, it's going to be baby. But then it's Oh,
Oh,
he's a heel in this match. All right. And so it was a very welcome surprise that I was expecting, just two titans of the babyface mountain going at it for something that was happening in WCW, but that wasn't it. And shouts out to Shivani and Mike Tenay for telling that story of the match. Is like, oh, ever since DDP won the title, he's just been corrupted. I was like, okay, cool. Now I have a reason for him to not be a babyface. I get it. And as a viewer watching this product like 25 years since it happened, I appreciated that because, again, story is timeless.
context is nice.
Yeah. So it was interesting. And that's when I was talking to Kevin, because Kevin's usually the one that I talk to when I do these episodes. I was like, I just watched this match, and he's like, oh, what you think? Because, he's a huge WCW guy. So anytime I have WCW episodes, it's like, I want to know. I told him that I watched the Diamond Dallas Page match. He's like, oh, as a baby? I was like, no. As a heel, I was like, oh, that's interesting for your first one. I was like, yeah, it was definitely interesting because a big thing that we talk about when putting matches together is that you gotta give the baby face the shine, obviously, and then the heel has to find a way to not make themselves look bad, but still make sure that the show is about the baby face. So the fact that I was watching the match and it was like 10 minutes, just Diamond Dallas Page getting beat up, I was like, where's your shine, bro? Like, you got to still put yourself a little bit over as the heel. And then it started coming together in the later parts of the match. But to me, as an outside viewer watching this for the first time, my brain was just like, this is how much faith they have in Sting to be the guy, to be able to have that much shine, but still make Diamond Dallas Page look like a threat.
Well, I think it also goes on Page too, and I think this is it's not for everyone, but I think a lot of heels are scared to make themselves look foolish or to make themselves look less than. But in this situation, you mentioned it, like Sting is in firm control. Like the first half of this match, DDP just cannot get anything going. Like he tries to do something and boom, he gets hit. He goes to the outside. He's pacing around. He's frustrated. He just can't figure this thing out. And it's not until he has that opening. And once he finds that opening, you're going to see that vicious side. But most importantly, at that point, it becomes, okay, I got to keep this title. I got to go for the finisher. If you watch how many times he tries to hit that diamond cutter, because at this point, I don't believe anybody had kicked out the diamond cutter. Like the move's very protected. He can hit it from out of nowhere, and he tries to hit it at multiple points during this match. But Sting just always has his number.
I did like the all the reversals of the diamond cutter because I was waiting for it because, like you said, I know it's very protected. I know it's one of those moves that barely ever gets kicked out of, and obviously the precursor to the RKO, that's the one that I grew up with and everything. So the way that the match ended, and we'll get to that later on, I also thought was a really great way to protect the diamond cutter as well. But leading up to all of that, there was a spot that kind of like got a chuckle out of me because I don't know how common it was for Sting, but it was like the nut shot where he just kind of like crumbles, like just due to the momentum or whatever, and then he falls right into Diamond Dallas Page. Was that like a often thing that Sting had in his playbook?
I literally wrote in my notes when I was rewatching this, Sting playing all the hits.
Okay.
There was a lot of, obviously everyone has their signature moves. Like Sting does the back fist, he does the one-handed bulldog, he does all these things, and I call it the shaky legs. So he hits. So for those who haven't seen the match, DDP's on the mat. Sting bounces off the ropes. He's dizzy. Oh, falls forward, headfirst into the the nether region of DDP. What I loved about it in this sense is Page had already hit Sting with a blatant low blow during the match,
and that's how he got into the heat. Yeah,
and Sting being the babyface, obviously he's going to take advantage of this situation, but it wasn't intentional. So he got his shot back. He made things even, but he wasn't going out of his way. He wasn't malicious trying to hit this low blow. So I love that.
Yeah. I like the fact that he said that is his greatest hits because I feel if you were to watch this and then this is the only Sting you have, and then you compare it to his retirement match in AEW, it's literally the same thing. Like, doing all the hits and everything. The one thing that I feel was missing, maybe it's just in different context, was the double super kick where he just like stood, but then he just like came right back against the Young Bucks. I didn't see
Oh,
that in this match.
he would do stuff like that back in the day, but it was used so sparingly.
Hmm.
Um, I do think AEW Sting was a little super powered, but
Hmm.
as someone who was there in that building, I did not care. I was
Yeah.
having a great. As soon as that match was announced, I was like, I don't care what I got to do. Had the tickets pre-ordered. I was like, I'll worry about booking a hotel, all that later. Ended up getting there. My seats were terrible.
Hmm.
I just wanted in the building, and I remember at one point during the show, I go and I'm sitting out uh, out towards the lobby because like I can't really see anything. The people around me are bothering me, so I'm just watching everything on a screen that they had out in the lobby. And then as Sting's match is coming up, actually, it was Ospreay versus Takeshita was about to come up. I'm like, you know what? I know they said this place is sold out. Let me find a spot to watch this. So I was like sneaking around, and I found a good spot over by the stage.
Hell yeah.
But I watched the show, and literally the entire Sting match, I'm on my feet, smiling ear to ear. Like, it was everything that I guess it's because I've seen a lot of Sting matches, also wrestling brain, but literally, as I'm looking around, I was like, oh, I bet he's coming out to seek and destroy. He comes out to seek and destroy. I'm like,
Hmm.
hey, I called that. And then, like, I'm seeing all these things, like the spot where he falls off the stage into the table. Like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, no one sets up a table just to set down some gaff tape and a couple of extension cords. Like,
Hmm.
something's happening here. But then he pulls out things that I'd never seen him do. So it's his last match. So goes through a pane of glass. Never thought I'd see that. I jokingly told my friend, I was like, man, I could have been calling Sting and GCW. What's going on?
Yeah, shouts out to GCW as well. I've learned to appreciate what they do after doing some ECW matches for the podcast as well. But thinking of Sting and GCW would be kind of
Oh,
insane.
man. And if anyone could pull it off, it's Brett Lauderdale because the contacts this man has is ridiculous.
Hmm.
He brings in the most, I don't want to say random names, but the most unexpected names into GCW, and I love it so much. Like, there's a lot of times where I've been, which I haven't been with GCW a little over a year, just 'cause schedule not working out, but uh, some of the matches that I would call were on paper, I'm like, this is absolutely insane. And then they would get out there, and I'm like, oh no, this makes sense. Like, this is awesome. I'm
Hell yeah.
loving this.
Hell
Actually got to
yeah.
talk to him a little bit earlier today. So shout out Brett.
We're gonna shout every single person we know out.
It's a must.
Yeah, no, for
It's a must.
sure.
If you're on the
For sure.
podcast, you have to shout people out.
For sure. So okay. So run me through the importance of Sting winning the world championship here for this matchup, because I know that he was a very important fixture to WCW. He was one of probably the last WCW person to show up on WWE like a decade after, a decade after, 15 years after everything went down. So by this time, had he already been in the world championship scene, or
Oh
had
yeah.
he which world championship was this for him?
So I don't know offhand which number this was, but Sting was winning championships my entire life. So um, I would assume at this point this is his fifth or sixth. Um, this is coming off of, I mentioned that fatal four-way where a lot of shenanigans. Macho Man Randy Savage is your guest referee.
Mm-hmm.
He basically goes into business for himself. He attacks Flair, helps DDP win the title. And then now we're seeing DDP, who's been taken from the light. He's been corrupted by this title. He's, not really acting like himself. Sting, who is the perennial good guy, he's the, the savior of WCW. They call him the franchise. So, like, he is like the heart and soul of WCW. So as far as like importance of him winning the championship, I think it's less of, hey, Sting's got another title, and more of, hey, he's fixed this problem that we have here. The face of the company has done something good. He's taken the title away from this man who's corrupt. Like, I mean, that's what point we're at now.
Nice. Okay, so this happened in 1999, and
Yes.
the sale to WWE happened in 2001. Was there already talks about that potentially happening, or was that still a bit of a ways away?
So for me, and obviously you have to keep in mind, like, I'm a child when this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I remember growing up, my my house was very strict. We could not watch WWE because of what was on the TV at the time. It was
That's
the
fair. It's the
Attitude
Attitude
Era.
Era. Yeah, that makes sense.
I wasn't allowed to watch WWE, which to me wasn't a problem because I'd always grown up watching WCW. Like, I grew up on guys like Sting and Hogan, Nash, Hall, Goldberg, DDP, and then all the undercard guys, Eddie, Ray, Juventud, like all these, Raven. So I grew up on all that. So I didn't think anything about it. And then one night on Monday Night Raw, or Monday Night Raw, I'm sorry, one night on Nitro, Eric Bischoff calls into the show, and they've got his picture up on the screen that says Eric Bischoff on the phone, and he's saying, "Hey, look, guys, a lot of questions about WCW right now. Obviously, you know, Turner is merging with AOL. Blah, 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 blah. They don't want WCW on the air anymore, but I am putting together a group to purchase WCW. We're working on finalizing the deal, but hopefully we'll have something good to announce soon."
Gotcha. Okay, so
And,
then there's still a ways
and
away
then
then.
the very next week, I tune in to Nitro. The first thing I see is Vince McMahon. He's like, "I purchased WCW," and I'm like, "What has
Gotcha.
happened? What has happened in a week?"
That must have been crazy, crazy time to live in. Because I actually just watched the Vince McMahon documentary on Netflix, and then he talks about just the surprise of like keeping everything secret and stuff. But obviously, again, the history is written by the winners, so obviously he's gonna be like, I have my version of this story and whatnot. So I was
And
just
he bought it for
curious.
so cheap.
Yeah, that was the
That's the
most
crazy
surprising
part.
thing. But I mean, just look what he did with a lot of the people that he had in there because he got some stars out of there. Booker became a massive star in WWE as well. It's unfortunate what happened with DDP. I wish he had a more successful career in WWE as well.
Needs to.
And then Eddie Guerrero, obviously, but he was already kind of with WWE at the time. But just it's amazing to just see that how that all played out. And I'm curious. This is strictly a hypothetical. Had WCW won the Monday Night Wars, how different do you think history would be right now for wrestling?
Oh God.
It's a loaded
honestly,
question.
honestly, I don't think WCW would exist, and I don't know what that spelled. Like, obviously, I think something would have come out of that, but it wouldn't have been TNA.
That's
Because
true.
TNA was formed because after WWE bought WCW, Jeff Jarrett didn't have a place to work, and I love Jeff. He's one of the homies, but he had no other place to go. They formed TNA, and you know, through a lot of hard work, a lot of trial and error, like, it grew into something that's still around today. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know what happens because you had Ring of Honor at the time that came from the ashes of ECW, which you have to keep in mind. ECW and WCW went out of business within a couple months of each other.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would imagine Ring of Honor still happens because that was the closest thing to ECW at the time. You'd still have MLW forming. But I don't know what that next big breakout promotion would be because I don't think WCW as a whole was sustainable enough. And maybe that would have changed if they would have got WWE.
Hmm.
I don't know.
I find it fascinating that you mentioned that Ring of Honor was the one that formed from the ashes of ECW because I never put those two together. And now I want to do a little bit more research on that, because I know TNA was like the spawn of WCW, and I mean you could feel it right out of the gate. Like it's a different alternative product. But the thing that did both of them in, and even though TNA is still going on, is that they wanted to compete with WWE. They just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
be better, and I was like, just focus on you, dude. Like trust me, like just focus on you. And I think that's what I appreciate about AEW now. Like at first, like yeah, like this competition, we're gonna, they I feel they did that to make a splash. But then after everything that happened in like 2022, 2023 or so, now they found their footing towards like, we're just us. And this is what we do. We are an alternative, but we're
I agree
just
with that.
us. And I actually just talked to somebody on a previous episode that I did from this one. My New Year's resolution, now that I feel like AEW has really found their footing to be themselves, and my New Year's resolution is to watch more AEW, because I watched World's End and I thought that was a lot of fun. I was like, okay, I like this. And I've always kept up with it. But for me, it was always just like the commentary always kind of like lacked the stories to tell me what's happening. And when I'm working out and I watch the shows, I was like, I want commentary to tell me what's happening in case I can't always be watching because I'm focusing on breathing and all that stuff. And I'm just like, I need to like be able to just hear the story while I watch some stuff. If I have to fully watch it with full attention, it's hard for me to do sometimes, only because again, I'm trying to do other things, because I can't sit down for
No,
15
I
hours
can see that.
every week, watch wrestling, like undivided attention. It's hard because that's just a lot of
So
time.
so for my money, I believe that AEW's pay-per-views are the best bang for your buck.
I 100% agree.
They're gonna make sure you get your money's worth. You're gonna get multiple match of the year contenders on each show, like, and to, maybe to a fault, they'll give you so many matches.
Hmm.
They'll give you 5 hours of wrestling, and for the people who love wrestling, that's awesome. For people
Hmm.
with an early bedtime, it may not be for you, but with that being said, they jam pack this with like excellent wrestling, and it is such a good alternative. Like you look at an AEW pay per view, and I'm not saying either one of these is right or wrong. You look at an AEW pay per view, it may have 13 matches on it. Show goes 5 hours. There's blood in 5 of the matches. Like, meanwhile, WWE, the show has 4 matches, but every match has 20 minutes in between of ad reads and commercials and backstage segments and interviews and video
Hmm.
packages, and then each person gets a 3-minute entrance because, oh, we're gonna do our entrance. Oh, you want me to do it again? All right, let's go. Like, it's very different. And again, there's no right or wrong way here. WWE is more focused on the pageantry. AEW is just like, let's go out there and do hard hitting wrestling for the sickos. And I love it. I love it, man. I love it. I try to, and you mentioned it. Like, there's only so many hours in a week, especially now that I'm a father to a newborn.
Hmm.
Try to pick my spots, as they say, with what I'm consuming wrestling wise, because used to I would, as much of a completionist as I could, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Dynamite, Collision. I'd try to keep up to my best with TNA and Ring of Honor, and oh, MLW had a show that I heard about. Let me check this out. And now I'm like, okay, let me try to maybe read the Cliff Notes version
Yeah.
and then skim through it, and then it is what it is. But
Yeah.
I find myself now watching a lot of wrestling on YouTube, just like little one match clips.
Hmm.
And this is also going to sound terrible.
I mean,
A
it's a
lot of
time
time.
thing.
Oh,
It's hard.
so so one of the best pieces of advice I was given as a play-by-play commentator was, and I think you kind of touched on this a little bit with how hard it is to keep up with it if you're not fully engaged, is to be able to tell what's happening to the point where the person doesn't even have to be looking at the TV.
Hmm.
So a lot of times when I'm on my long drives, literally every week, every Thursday, I drive up to OVW from Birmingham, Alabama. That's 11 hours round trip every single Thursday. So on the drive back, my fiance and my little one are sleeping in the back. I will. I've got a playlist that I just constantly add to of just random matches from different promotions, different eras. I just turn it on. I've set my phone over to the side. I just listen to it while I'm driving. and I'm not hearing it, or I'm not seeing it rather, but I'm hearing JR, and he's telling the story of this match like it's life or death, and oh, Triple H, you son of a, you heartless, like, and it draws you in, and you're like, I feel like I'm there, and I'm not even seeing the moves, like. So that's what a lot of my tape study is,
Mm-hmm.
is watching one-offs on the TV, or I'm listening to it on the drive, just trying to pick up pieces and say, why is it that this commentator is doing it this way, or picking something up? Like, I never would have thought to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of wrestling to consume.
There is. It's the time, and I will always give props to the people that make this their whole thing, because I want to make this my whole thing. If I'm getting paid to watch wrestling, then I'm gonna watch all the wrestling possible, and that's kind of why, again, I started the podcast, because like I need to watch older wrestling to see where people get inspired from, to see maybe what they did back then they do now. Which, by the way, I do actually have it here in my notes. I popped for the turnbuckle spot where Sting was just bashing his head in the turnbuckles and then goes to the middle. I was like, Matt Hardy does that, and I never knew that was a Sting thing.
Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy were huge Sting fans.
Mhm.
Early on in their career, they did the face paint and everything, like very big, very big on Sting. So,
So once I saw that, I popped immediately. I was like, like in all caps. I literally have it. Hey, turnbuckle spot broken. Matt Hardy does. So it's funny to me that like I'm seeing those inspirations happen from then to now. And like the last match that I just did was actually Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart ladder match. Literally the episode right before this, and I'm seeing like a lot of the selling from Shawn Michaels, and I see a lot of that in Ziggler. And I was like, now I see where you kind of got that inspiration from. And I did a Mr. Perfect match as well. And I was like, I see Ziggler, because you know that's the inspiration that came to be in the future and stuff. So you know, it's fascinating to me that all these things that are new to me, as somebody that's been watching this for 22 years now almost, feels new. Or I'm just like, oh, I didn't know that was from like 25 years ago. And the one thing that I'm going to manifest is that I want somebody to steal the bounce leg drop off the ropes that Too Cold Scorpio did, because I did a Dean Malenko Too Cold Scorpio match, and I was like, nobody does that. I want somebody to take that and do it, because it's so unique, and in nowadays you don't see it. So I'm manifesting that. Some wrestlers out there listening, steal it to your playbook. Do it.
with that being said, just watch old wrestling, guys.
Yep.
Go back, watch something you wouldn't expect to watch. Like, go out, watch some Smoky Mountain Wrestling, watch some old NWA, watch some AWA. You may see something from Nick Bockwinkel that you've never seen before, and you're like, hey, well, nobody else is using that. Like,
Yeah. So yeah, just
highly
watch
encouraged.
watch old wrestling, and I'm learning that really, in I would say the hard way, but I would say this is the fun way, because I'm getting to come on here and just talk to people about the matches that they enjoy and why they enjoy it, and then they just tell me stories. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's something new, and you know, just get to meet more people that way. So to get to the end of the matchup, was a Tombstone Pile Driver always a move that Sting did?
No, so this is something he always would do: the Scorpion Death Drop, the reverse DDT,
Yeah.
or he would do the Scorpion Death Lock, which a lot of people call sharpshooter. They're wrong, but but those are his primary moves. But around this time, there was definitely a lot of comparison with the Undertaker, and I think Sting just sort of leaned into it.
Gotcha.
Just real quick, if you don't mind,
Uh-huh.
just catching everyone up,
Yeah.
going from the start of the match down. We talked about it. Sting's got the early advantage. Page can't quite figure it out. Like, the crowd erupts for the first bump. All it is a shoulder block. Page goes down. The crowd loses their mind. Page comes up. Sting punches him with the right hand. Crowd erupts. Later on, they're doing some chain wrestling. Sting puts on a hammerlock, and the crowd cheers. Like, they are eating everything up. He's frustrated, can't get the advantage. Page tries to flee. He's going up the aisleway. This is one of the greatest hits from Sting now. Heel's trying to run away. Sting just walks down the aisle, grabs him by the hair. Typically, he just turns them right around, throws them in the ring, but This time they brawl on the outside. Paige takes a nasty, nasty body slam on the concrete where he lands butt first. That was the one bump I was talking about earlier that was just sickening.
Mm-hmm.
Finally gets him in the ring. Paige hits the low blow. That's when the momentum of the match changed. Paige is working him over, and we were talking about things being a sign of the times and how different it was then. You want to pinpoint a single moment in this match that is a sign of the times. There is someone holding up a literal sign, a physical sign of Sting as a South Park character. And that was such commonplace back then. I can't tell you how many South Park WCW characters I saw on signs.
I love
But
that.
that took me back. Paige is dropping the elbow through the legs of Sting, hitting more low blows. He's claiming, oh, it's midsection. Starts to work over the knee of Sting on the post. Tries to go for the diamond cutter as soon as he gets him in the ring. He thinks he has him right where he wants him. Goes for the diamond cutter. All Sting has to do is grab onto the top rope. Again, the crowd is on their feet. They're like, our hero has found a way out of this. Paige keeps going for the diamond cutter, can't get it. And then the spot you were just mentioning, the pile driver. Sting hits a regular pile driver, 1-2 kick out. Sting says, now I gotta hit the tombstone. Picks him up. DDP smacks him with his knees, reverses. DDP's about to hit it. Sting reverses the momentum again, hits the tombstone. Again, a kick out. And at this point, you can sense the desperation from DDP. He knows that title is almost out of his grasp. He goes for the diamond cutter. Sting reverses it, goes for a back body slide. DDP gets out, goes for the diamond cutter again. Sting pulls him back into the corner. Coming out, Scorpion death drop. And that crowd, the second he hits, I don't know how many people were in that building, but every single one of them were on their feet, jumping up and down, hugging their neighbor, like losing their mind as Sting gets the 3 and wins the title. And it was such a moment, dude. And we used to get stuff like that just on a typical Monday, and that is insane to me.
Yeah. I definitely do miss those types of moments where like anything could really happen. The one criticism that I keep seeing online now is that the World Championship is not going to change hands unless it's WrestleMania or SummerSlam. And something I have this feeling, and again manifesting, right? I have this feeling that Drew McIntyre is finally going to take that title from Cody in that 3 Stages of Hell match, but we'll see.
They got to give him something.
We'll see.
He loses nonstop. You got to give him something.
I haven't wanted a Drew McIntyre WWE title run this bad since 2020. So, I'm hoping for it. We'll see.
Shout out Drew and Cody,
Exactly.
2 former OVW alumni.
There you go. So yeah, the match itself was fantastic. I really do want to, thank you for sharing it with me because again, as I'm going through all this stuff, there's so many wrestlers that people are like, you haven't seen this person, and I know that Sting was definitely one of those people for me, especially Diamond Dallas Page too. Except I got him as a heel, not as a face. So now I'm excited to go back and see more of his work as a face.
You gotta see babyface DDP like that. What you saw from this match, from that crowd, is a glimpse of what everybody who was facing the NWO would get. So Sting, DDP, even guys like Lex Luger, Goldberg. If you haven't seen Goldberg versus Hollywood Hogan from another Nitro in Atlanta, Georgia, like, dude, their reaction blows this one out of the water.
I'm I don't want to say skeptical. What's the word? Apprehensive to watch Goldberg because I feel like a lot of his matches were shorter. And to me, again, from an outside perspective, all I've seen is his WWE stuff. And basically what in WWE he did was basically what he always did was just jackhammer, spear. It's over. So I'm like, I feel like I have to do Goldberg's career in one episode.
So you have to keep in mind at this time, this hadn't been seen before.
True. That's
He's a relative nobody. Literally his first match, I want to say it was with Hugh Morris. I could be wrong. But he goes out there, demolishes him. He's billed from parts unknown. They say, we know nothing about this guy. We just know he looks physically intimidating. He comes out there, just demolishes his opponent. They try to get a word with him afterwards. He just blows them off, walks away. So there's weeks of this, and then now it's like, well, we've done some research. This guy actually used to play for the Atlanta Falcons. This is Bill Goldberg. He's, he's done this, he's done that. And every week he would just come out, just no nonsense, and he would just pulverize his opponent. And then occasionally he would show something that you're like, wait a minute, I didn't know he could do that. I didn't know he could do a backhand spring. I didn't know he could I didn't know he could do this. So you take him, he's undefeated. I'm trying to think when he won the belt from Hogan. I want to say he was like 160 something victories in a row, never been defeated. He's the United States champion, goes into the match with Hogan in his hometown of Atlanta. And dude, like, that crowd is shaking the camera with how loud they are.
I love that.
Dude, it is absolutely incredible. Like, go out of your way. I know I'm not the hugest Goldberg fan. I appreciated him at the time. Obviously, my tastes have changed when I've grown up, but that match, man, especially that reaction, like, that is one of the top moments in pro wrestling history, is Bill Goldberg winning the title from Hogan on Nitro. No, did it make a lot of sense to do it, the week before a pay-per-view? Probably not. But with that being said, for the moment, it was awesome. Goldberg's hometown, they're screaming, crying, jumping up and down. Like, it's a must-watch.
I'll definitely add it to the list.
Even if you don't watch the match, just watch the finish. Just watch the crowd and tell me if we get anything like that today.
I'll keep that in mind, and I'll message you about it, because you've made me curious now.
I don't know if it's because fans today are too plugged in, or they're keeping up with the rumors and speculation behind the scenes, or they're letting social media change their opinions on things, whatever that may be. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know. But there's something about that time in particular, like, everyone was just there to just live in the moment. They didn't care about anything else. Like, all their focus was on the wrestling, and they were hooked, man.
Yeah, I miss those days.
So good.
Yeah, I definitely miss those days, because I started watching wrestling in 2004. So, I mean, that was like kind of like really like, I don't want to call it the birth of the internet era, because we're still kind of in its infancy. But, it's not as it is now, where I literally made a joke about this in the last episode. Stan Twitter is a thing. And I'm just like, my God, Stan Twitter is absurd. And whenever I see a Stan account, I'm just like, I'm going to just not engage with this at all.
So my favorite is, and I've set myself up for it. I'm, trying to put myself out there on social media a lot more. So, I know you've seen my series that I started with how I would announce. It is different people from wrestling history, from WWE, AEW, what have you. And it all started because I would post clips of me introducing people, or my commentary clips online, and I'd get a couple hundred views, maybe a couple likes. Like, even if I'm announcing a name, like if I'm announcing a guy like Matt Riddle or Joey Janela or whatever, like, I might get a little bit like, hey man, that was good. And I said out loud, I was like, man, it's like they don't care unless I'm announcing someone from WWE. That's when the light bulb went off, started doing those videos, but I've opened myself up to it, because once you put content out online, you have the super fans, and sometimes they're right. Sometimes they're justified. Other times it's, well, you should have rolled your R on Eddie Guerrero, and they try to tell me how to ring announce. I'm like, well, first of all, it's how I would announce. Second of all, when did Tony Chimmel ever roll his R's? Tell me.
How many times did he break his voice trying to do the rated R superstar?
Or somebody telling me, it was good, but you forgot this, or this, not knowing that, like, I'm doing my homework.
Yeah.
I'm watching these people come to the ring, and as they're being announced, I'm writing their information down, putting my own spin to it. Like, and people are like, well, actually, you forgot to say WWE Hall of Famer. I'm like,
I love the internet. The internet's
Oh man.
fantastic.
But it's always the stands who come in. There's only been once where I've taken one of those to heart, and it was a complete accident on my end.
Hmm.
So for interest of transparency, I'm actually here in front of my set right now.
Hmm.
Uh, when I'm doing these, I'm recording them in bunches. So it's like literally I'll have like 15 I'll knock out in a row. I'm just uh, this is how I would introduce Tony Storm and do it. Then I'm on to the next one. This is how I would introduce Bobby Lashley. And my notes as I was typing them, I swapped two of the numbers around and didn't even
Hmm.
notice. So I do it, I post it, and I get a notification that MVP comments on my video. And I'm like, oh, dude, MVP commented on my video. This is awesome. And he says, hey, man, good job. But but his weight, 227, question mark, question mark, question mark. Like, oh, no. You know what, MVP? I'll listen to you.
I love that.
Oh, dude. And that's something I think a lot of people would be embarrassed about. And yeah, it's embarrassing, but I laughed it off. Like, I was with my fiance at the time, and I'm just like belly laughing. She's like, "What?" I'm like, "I can't believe I did that."
Yeah.
I said, "Usually I'll like check them as I'm doing it, but I was in a rush to like get everything out." And like, man.
It happens.
But yeah, the stands are out there. The stands are
Yeah.
out there. I can't tell you how many times I've been corrected by someone with an avatar of Roman Reigns or of whoever else.
Those are the best. Those are absolutely the best. Well, Carmen Michael, thank you so much for joining me here on this episode. I hope you had a blast. I definitely sure did. You know, getting to talk to you more and getting to know more about you as a whole. Because again, we interacted once after that the seminar, and then we've just kind of been, you know, social media buddies and everything and whatnot. But I always love, you know, talking to people, especially broadcasters, because like I told Chris Russo, like we all have stories, we all have reasons to be
Oh,
where
I
we
love
want to be
Chris.
and everything, but it's not our story to tell on screen, so a lot of people don't know our stories. So you know, getting to know a little bit more about you has been fantastic. So you know, thank you for taking the time to come on here and just, you know, chatting Sting with me.
Man, it's been a pleasure. I've had a blast. I would love to work with you one day, man. If
Hey,
we gotta pull you out of Texas and bring you my way, if you need me to come to Texas, we gotta make it happen at least once.
I'm down for going anywhere. I want to go work elsewhere outside of Texas. So you know, I've kind of put it out there for a lot of people. It's like, hey, if y'all want to bring me in, like I'm available. Just let me
The
know.
water's nice. The
I
water's
went
nice over here.
I went to Louisiana this year, so that was a really cool one. I did Wildcat Sports, but I definitely do
Oh,
want to. I do want to do. I want to go more places, just wherever they'll have me. Even if I just show up to do nothing and, you know, just help with the show and maybe just, you know, be an extra voice or just, you know, like, hey, like, you know, this is good. This is, you know, where you could work on and just, you know, be a person that's around. I'd love that too. So, and same for
dude,
Row. If you ever want to come to Row, as a matter of fact, I'll talk to you about this off camera after we're done here. But there may be something that you could potentially come down for, and I'll talk
hey,
to Kevin and whatnot. But you know, I always love working with new broadcasters because, you know, like you said, Tom Hannafin uplifts you. I've been uplifted by other people as well. And as long as we all keep working together, you never know where our careers might take us. So, you know, that's what we're all about.
rising tide lifts all ships. So,
Exactly. Exactly. So before we get out of here, man, is there anything you want to plug?
not really. Just follow me on all my social media, all of it across the board. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, all Carmen M. Childers. That's CarmenMChilders.
I'll make sure to post that
That
over on the descriptions and everything. So, again, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, man. Hopefully, we get you back on here for another episode in the future. Maybe a face DDP match. We'll see.
Let's
We'll
do it.
we'll see. But thank you
I'll
so
get
much, guys.
I'll get to thinking.
There you go. Well, thank you
Thank you,
so
man.
much. Thank you so much for listening, y'all. This has been Kirby Carreon with the Miss Retrospective, and we'll see you on the next one.